Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of the Happy Butcher. Another delivery from the hunter today. Large female, I say 3 or 4 years old. Probably 50-60 kilograms. It was caught by a wire trap and then dispatched in the head. Not exactly sure where, but yeah, it looks like a clean shot to the head. It's a beautiful night out in the woods in the middle of nowhere in Kyushu, Japan. Oof. There we go. Oops. It's nice not having to worry about being noisy. I could scream all night and no one would really hear me. Pretty far away from anyone around here. Something you can't really do in the city. So it's nice to get away sometimes, you know. Yeah, the local hunter who caught it, well, he's been catching a few regular ones. It's now February, but he said things really slow down, especially in March and April. I guess out here in Japan, they have some rest period that they do in April. So a lot of hunters don't hunt, so of course there's gonna be less deer then. So that's gonna kind of suck because my customers' dogs are always hungry, but you know, can't be helped, I guess. Just try to stock up my freezer as best as I can until then. So hopefully we'll get by. Alright. This is a pretty big head for a deer. Oh. I think the bullet wound is probably around here. Oh, there it is. It went right behind its eye, through its brain. It's probably stuck in the brain someplace, I don't know. But anyhow, let's make a little incision at the vertebrae and give it a nice chop. Oops. Oof. Pretty tough for a female head. Son of a... As long as I get through the vertebrae, after that, should be a piece of cake. There we go. Alrighty. What's there to talk about today? Well, recently I've been using ChatGPT and AI. Particularly yesterday, I used an image creator AI, which basically is, you can say any combination of words like dog and forest, sitting with Abraham Lincoln, smoking cigarettes. And the AI, within a couple of seconds, will make up its own image based on its database of basically all the information that's on the web, and make a pretty darn cool image. And it's instantaneous. And I heard about it, but I hadn't really used it. But after I used it, I mean, it's like unleashing your imagination. Like, you can imagine what maybe something strange idea in your mind, but to actually put it in a physical image that you can see, that something you just said can instantly be created, it's just mind-blowing. And until you really use it, you don't really have the idea of how powerful it is. I mean, the next thing I can think of is watching Star Trek, TNG, Next Generation, and coming in contact with Lieutenant Commander Data. Data, is a superhuman, and he was creating art, he was creating music, and he was just doing it very mechanically, and I guess he felt it didn't come out as human as it should, but he could still nonetheless create beautiful works of art. Well, it's like, when I was using that program, I felt like I was like talking to Data, the humanoid robot on Star Trek. And I was like, shit, the future is here, man. It's like, I'm like, this is like Data 1.0. This is like part of his brain, and I have access, complete unadulterated access to his brain. But of course they filter out things like nothing sexual, nothing violent. So if I were to say, show me a picture of Hitler under an apple tree, well, Hitler hints to violence, so that wouldn't be allowed. So, they're putting out the beta version now to kind of learn how to make it safe for the future, and just see how, I guess, people interact with it. And I was just addicted. I didn't sleep so much last night because I was just using it. And I used fucking ChatGPT to make a story about a deer and a goblin or whatever, and then I used the image creator to create images to that story. So I basically just made a children's book in less than an hour. I was like, holy crap. And then I published it on Kindle, Amazon Books or whatever, Kindle, I think it's called. And I was like, I didn't expect to make any money, but I posted it for sale for 99 cents. But I mean, just the fact that you can write a book and publish it within an hour or two, it's like, damn, I really did that. It's like, this is the future, And you imagine how things that would, take a long time to create, like art or a book, and we can do it instantaneously now, relatively decently. I mean, it's not the real thing. It's it's just mind-blowing, you know? And I'm sure it'll get to a point where just maybe you can't tell the difference if it was really written by a person, really talented person, or is used by AI. And what's crazy is you could use it, like write something in the form of, I don't know, Stephen King, and it'll study all his work instantaneously and write in the style of Stephen King or any other famous author out there. So people could kind of copycat, you know, legally famous authors out there. You know, it's a big debate these days, you know. Maybe it's nothing new for those who've heard about it, but to actually experience it by using it, it's a whole other thing. And I recommend to use it if you have the chance. I just found it free on a video editing program called CapCut, and it was just this option that popped up. I was like, whoa. Usually you have to like pay for this stuff, but for some reason on this site, editing site, they're giving it for free to people to test. I was like, that's kind of nuts. So, you know, it was, I'm sure it's being used a lot by people. I already recommended it to like everyone in my family, my friends, and showed it in my classrooms, and everyone's like blown away. And you don't have to speak English, you can speak Japanese or any language. And you know, it understands any language. And it's just like, wow, the future's here, you know, it's coming, there's no stopping it. You know, you can imagine the next 30 years, just the world is just not going to look the same. I mean, I was working it through my head, you know. AI is going to take all the jobs that we had to do to get by or, you know, make money. It's just going to be like Star Trek, you know. It's just like the way people lived in Star Trek or the way they explained it. I think it was like Gene Roddenberry who, he thought of the idea of Star Trek by kind of consulting with a clairvoyant, and the clairvoyant is basically telling him of the future of how how the clairvoyant saw it, and that's how Star Trek was born, basically. So, yeah, it's maybe someone who could really have a insight in the future could really see it. Well, anyways, in Star Trek, there's basically two forms of people who accept technology and, you know, go with it and travel space or use it. And there's other people who are just kind of anti-technology and they want to live like, you know, natural people and work naturally and live naturally, farm, you know, even though they don't really need to, but it's just AI just gave the potential to let people do whatever they wanted to do, unlike nowadays. So if you want to work hard, you can work hard. If you want to live kind of luxuriously and easily, you can do that too. And you could just live the life you want to live. And I think that's where the AI is going to take us. It's going to let us do whatever we want to do. It's going to free up time and free up, you know, let us, you know, live however we want to live. The problem I kind of see it with Japanese culture is that Japanese people's lives, a lot of their lives are around their work. So even I think if Japanese people don't need to work, I think they're going to choose to work because that's just how they feel happy. So they might, you know, still be doing cafes or bars or restaurants, not because they have to financially, but it's just because they want to, and that's how they like to connect. So that's probably how they're going to live their life. So, you know, kind of makes you think about the future. And if we're really living in that Star Trek kind of world where we can basically do whatever we want, how will we, you know, decide to live? How will we decide to be? In the beginning, in the short run, you know, people aren't going to be happy that they're losing their jobs to AI, but it's just nothing you can do about it, you know. It's just if you don't need to drive anymore, you need to be a driver. And you don't have to be, and you're not going to be necessary to be. So you're going to do something else. So, what are you going to choose? And I think this is like a serious thing people are going to have to think about in the relatively near future. And I think, a lot of, rich people who have everything, or maybe poor people who have nothing, a lot of them decide to go down the spiritual path because that's the last frontier. If you've experienced everything you could want to experience, physical sensations, travel, whatever, and you're going to look for the final frontier, which is spirituality and enlightenment and such. So I think that'll be a big thing. People have time to think more about things, and having a lot of free time and thinking may not be so good for people. They might just go nuts. So I think in that case they're going to be pushed to spirituality and having to learn a way to cope and deal with their own minds. Or they might just try to keep themselves busy so they don't have to think. But I definitely think people are definitely going to be going down the spiritual path even more so than now if they have time to think about it. And it makes you think, could AI assist in helping people go through that path? I don't know, maybe there'll be some regimen or a method to help people get to where they want to go and learn to have peace of mind and happiness. But if AI takes away all suffering of life, could people still grow? Do people need to go to war to grow? I don't know. Do people need to have terrible experiences and abusive parents and alcoholism and disease to grow? Is it necessary? Is it okay to just live life that's without trouble or problems? And I guess when I think of that, I already know what the experiment's kind of been done as far as rats. There was a rat utopia made to just see what would happen if rats lived in ideal conditions, or was it mice? I don't know. They live in ideal conditions. They have enough food. They have enough water. They have enough everything. And, how big could their population grow? Their space could grow. We would just give everything, no predators, no disease. We would give an ideal utopia, this rat utopia. And for a while, the rats grew exponentially and everything seemed fine. But when it got to a certain threshold, they noticed strange behaviors happening in the rats and the mice. I don't remember, maybe mice. I don't know. They got to a couple thousand. They stopped taking care of their young. They stopped caring about reproducing. They just groomed themselves all the time. And then suddenly the population just dropped. It's like when the instinct of survival disappears, you have no motivation to live. So instinctually, I don't know, you choose to die. I know we're not rats, but doesn't it seem like it's kind of like where the world is going? Every first world country that develops and becomes, quote, better off because we have everything. A lot of those countries, like maybe Korea. Korea has one of the lowest birth populations in the world. And, oh, this one's pregnant. That's a tiny one, though. And it kind of all started when they began to develop and prosper. And I don't know, it seems just like that dang rat experiment. And, oh, sorry, we got another calf here. Anyways, let's just take a Another dose of reality. I mean, if we're doing this, we just have to see. We have to see and understand the life that we're taking and just embrace the reality of it. That's why I open this, okay? Not just gross you out, but to embrace the reality. Oh, this is bigger than the last one. This is way bigger. And what is that? What is that? Oh, that's the placenta. Yeah, that's way bigger than before. They're starting to get big. I think another 2 months, it's already got teeth, those teeth. Another 2 months, this will be way bigger. I think this is probably 3/4 away through the gestation. After this, they just get huge. I don't know. Well, it's my first time going through this experience, so glad you're going through it with me. Anyways, a little dose of reality for today. Doesn't get more real than that. As I always like to say. Anyways, yeah, back to, I guess, advancing and developing. Yeah, when you lose the instinct to survive, at least it seems in mice or rats, they just naturally die out. So when that population of that rat colony grew to a certain number, they stopped reproducing, they stopped taking care of the babies, the mortality rate just jumped, and they just died off until they were just basically all dead. I mean, when you look at the world today and developing countries that really don't have any problems like those rats did, it seemed like it's kind of following that pattern. People just lost their survival instinct and just, I don't know, faded away. Of course, more resilient, I think, than maybe rats or other animals, and we can adapt better, so maybe human beings have a chance to not get trapped and disappear, hopefully. And certainly not everyone's going to become like that. As long as we don't become completely dependent, I guess maybe we do stand a chance. That's why I guess I feel being out in nature and doing these things is kind of important. I'll wait till the end. Is to keep that sharp survival instinct and to never just let go and take it easy. You always gotta keep the blade sharp so it'll cut, you know? You always gotta keep it sharp, because if it gets dull and you can't cut, you can't take care of yourself, you're as good as dead. So you gotta always keep it sharp. Your mind, your wits. Don't keep your guard down. Stay positive. That's important. We're so dependent on technology these days. It's hard to think how to survive without it. And well, that's how we're gonna be, I guess. Relatively dependent on our technologies. But if AI could take us into a new world and lead us into the world we want to live, then couldn't some people choose a more maybe righteous path and use robots and AI to help them kind of coexist in a new type of hybrid world that's not too detached from nature. Maybe a world where we could still live naturally, but also have some comforts of technology when we need it. So we could ride that fine balance between complete dependency or not. I think it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom, you know? I think we could see hope in humanity in the future. I don't think AI is going to turn into the Terminator. It's just a tool, you know? A tool that we use to do what we want. Just like the internet. So if you want to do good and righteous things, it'll help you do that. If you want to do terrible things and so pedophile videos on the dark internet, then people are going to do that. It's just a reflection and amplification of what's in our minds. So it's not about the technology, but it's kind of what's in our minds. If we don't clear our minds, nothing's going to change, no matter how much technology. So most important thing, I think, is to just work on ourselves. And look at the man in the mirror, like Michael Jackson would say, you know? Because that's all that matters. You have a good reflection of yourself, and then the world will reflect itself back at you in a better way. So never judge others, but always judge yourself, because that is the world. Oof. Still more breast meat. Not much. Oh, we still got a chunk here. How much more, could humanity separate from reality? I mean, you go into a supermarket, you buy prepackaged meat, It's just normal for most people. I think when people go into a butcher or a pig slaughterhouse and suddenly, I can't eat pigs or chicken anymore because they saw it. I mean, when you look at the meat at the supermarket, you really can't imagine that it came from an animal. It's red. It might have some blood on it. It's obviously an animal. How could you not understand that? It was an animal. You go to a factory and you see it, and suddenly you're traumatized. For me, it shows a huge disconnect to reality. These people are just not connected to reality. They think meat comes out of a petri dish. And they're trying to do that now, but it's not that easy. And it's expensive. People are going more vegetarian and protein, that's fine. But also, eating vegetables, say avocados, it also has an impact on the global environment. Just as much as meat, I would say. So everything is sacrifice. Whatever you do, there's a sacrifice. But people don't want to hear it or believe it, I guess. That's why I choose to do this. It makes me really understand this. This was an animal. It was just looking at me. This is the meat. It died. It died so I could survive. It doesn't get any more real than that. And every time I come out here and do this, further reinforces it. And I'm just thankful for that. I think I cut myself. That's nothing. And you can't ever forget to be thankful. Gotta be thankful for every little thing. Every little scrap of food. Every little ray of sunshine. Every little breath of air. Remember, I went to a terminally ill ward once to see my wife's grandmother. And the whole ward was, terminally ill, so no one's gonna leave that ward alive. They're all gonna be dead. First thing I noticed was the sounds of the oxygen being pumped in their lungs, because they're all on oxygen tanks and they all needed assisted breathing because, well, they're dying. And, they couldn't breathe. They needed tanks attached to them to be able to breathe, respirators. And when you're in a place like that and you're breathing, boy, you feel I've had it good. I could breathe myself. I mean, if you're not thankful about breathing, go to a place like that and you might change your mind. We should be thankful without having to go to those places, but some people, they need it. They need a wake-up call. I was just listening to a podcast about Korean-American artist Dave Choi. He says every time he loses touch of reality and loses appreciation, he goes to Africa. Because, well, poor African countries. It helps him to get centered and appreciate life again. And some people think he's crazy for doing that, going to really dangerous places like the Congo, but to me that seems perfectly darn sane. If you forget what's real, well then you gotta go where reality is. For me, this is more where reality is. So this helps me become kind of centered, Some people do yoga or exercise, volunteer. Whatever helps you get there, I guess, is great. We should never lose appreciation for what we have. And if you're alive, even if you're dying, you have everything. You are everything. And until you realize that, I guess, things just don't seem that great. You can't just know it in your mind. You have to know it in your bones and your soul. That you have it. You got it. You're living. Never forget to live. Yeah. And realize you're more than just a body and a mind. You're never born and you'll never die. You are consciousness itself. And when you know that, for every single moment you're experiencing the world through this body, you should only feel bliss, happiness. I admit, I don't always feel it. I had a hard day yesterday, working with a kind of lazy coworker at my wife's cafe. I got irritated. Instead of getting angry at her, I just decided to let it be. Young people these days, you get angry and they'll quit right away. If you don't say anything, they might quit right away anyways, but I just let her be because she's going to do what she's going to do regardless of what I say. And until she notices things herself, she might not wake up. Things are in front of us all the time. We should notice and wake up, but until we're ready to notice them, there's no point in it out. People just have to be ready to seek out things for themselves. People need to discover things themselves on their own journey. And you just got to respect that, you know. Can't force your will onto other people because you know more than they do. You might, but it doesn't matter. What's important in their journey is what they need to experience. Suffering, I don't know. So you just let them be. Death is definitely not the end. It's maybe death of this body, but it's certainly not the death of consciousness. It's always there. All right. I know dogs like to chew on these, but people think it's kind of gross, you know, you see the actual leg, but anyways. Let's put this in the junk pile. So even if humans are going to turn out like those rats on the experiment where there's going to be nothing left, it's fine too. It's just humans are gone. Consciousness is still there in everything. Not just animals, but the trees, the soil, the grass, the sun. It's basically matter, and it's susceptible to time and space, and it's conscious. So we'll always be there. Nothing will be lost if we die. Beginning to understand that now. You know, it's an empowering thing. You feel fearless after that. You realize everything's perfect the way it is. That's not gonna fit. No reason to live in fear and anxiety. Just be who we are. Everything will turn out fine. I think we're a lot less in control than we actually think. So let life play itself out and just enjoy the ride. Whatever that ride consists of, accept it for what it is. And don't create any extra suffering for yourself. I used to have anxiety attacks, especially during the coronavirus time. Panic attacks are just horrible. They just debilitize you. You can't move, you can't breathe. You think you're gonna die. It's scary. But if you come to the realization you're not actually alive. The body is, but just the consciousness looking through the body. And you look through life through that lens. Things just become a lot easier. You take things a lot seriously. It's like taking a few steps back from your life and understanding what you really are. You're the person looking through the eyes. Well, not the person. You're the consciousness looking through the eyes. And be there. You know, don't be in the body. It's horrible to be in the body because things happen to the body. You have pain. You suffer. You worry. Just don't be there, you know. And I did a lot of meditation. I stopped being there. And it helped a lot. My panic attacks went away. I wasn't worrying about dying anymore, because I guess I had already convinced myself I was already dead. Oof. So, how can a dead man die? You're already dead. There is nothing to worry about. And sometimes that can make life a lot easier. No worries. All right. It looks like we're done. Just ready to pack this up in the car. I hope you liked today's butchering session. Sorry it wasn't so lively in my last episode. I was out of it. I didn't even want to talk, but today I feel a lot better. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace, and take care.